Hello everyone and welcome back. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to tell you a whole new story. Okay, let's begin. When I think about how quickly and softly everything fell apart, it seems strange. Kathy and I had been married for 12 years. I thought we were strong. When my dad died and I had to take over the building company, it was hard work, but I always thought Kathy would understand. We had Maria together and built a life together. I thought I was taking good care of them both, even though I worked long hours and traveled a lot. I made a mistake. I got home early that day without planning to, and to my surprise, my life had changed from what I thought it would be. Kathy didn't just lie. Her boss, Ben, was having affairs with her all the time. It might have been worse in some way because we were there. Had the same name as me, as if someone else were there instead of me. But the shock factor wasn't important. Because I was busy with work, I wasn't ready for how shocked I was when I found out the truth. Maybe I knew it was going to happen but didn't want to admit it. More terrible was the loss of Maria. The prenuptial agreement made the divorce go more quickly and without a fight. I kept my things, the business my dad left me, and the money he gave me. But someone took my baby away from me. That was the real price I paid. Kathy married Ben too, the other one, and began a new life for themselves, even though they weren't. By my standards, they were pretty rich, but they made it. For a while, we got along fine until Kathy decided she wanted to cut the last link between me and Maria. It was hard for me to spend time with Maria without having to drag her out of something because her calendar was so full of things she wanted to do. Every time I did that, Kathy would get mad at me and say I was selfish for not caring about Maria's future. Fought for a while. I tried over and over to see her so we could stay in touch, but I gave up. I was no longer able to be Kathy's enemy. Because of that, I gave up. Kathy was in charge after I sent her a letter through my lawyer. I told her that even though I wasn't going to start it, I was still available for contact whenever they called. Getting my 4 days with Maria every month was something I didn't want to fight over, but I did, and finally into nothing at all. Maria and I haven't seen each other much in the last 4 years. I no longer have to pay child support since she is now 18 years old. I didn't have to, but it felt like I should have. It was time for her to decide. Maria didn't seem to want to be close to me. She was her mother's daughter all the time. It was a long time before she gave up on me. When she proposed, I didn't even know the young man's name until the wedding cards came in the mail. No one she knew who I was either. Maria looked at me like I hadn't seen her in a long time as I stood at the door. But the truth is, I hadn't. Even though she looked. I could still see traces of the girl I knew when she was younger, even though she was stronger and different. For a split second, I felt a strange mix of anger and happiness as she handed me the invitation, a wedding card with her name on it. My daughter got married, but I wasn't happy for long. I said I would be there. Of course I would. No matter what, I was still her father. That was when I asked her if I was supposed to walk her down the aisle. Her answer surprised me even more. She said, in a somewhat relaxed and matter-of-fact way, that she would rather have her parents walk her. Not her dad, but her mom and dad. It hurt so much inside that I don't even know how I was able to hide it from my face. That word, pops in the end, it proved beyond a doubt that I was no longer having a big impact on her life. The part one had to give up was played by her father, Ben, who is married to her mother. I felt like I was getting hit in the gut when I heard it said so casually, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. But I guess it was bound to happen. I did not argue. How should I say it? I told her I got it with a nod and watched her walk away. She didn't mean to be mean about it. I doubt she really got it. How bad it was for me. However, last night was anything but calm. I tossed and turned, remembering that moment all over again. It wasn't going to be her dad who walked her down the aisle. It was hard for me to remember that I had already made my choice and might have to deal with the consequences. But that didn't make things easier. It looked like I had failed at the one thing that really mattered, despite all of my hard work, accomplishments, and the new life I built after the split. I had to face the fact that my part in Maria's life was now just a name on an invitation and a vague memory. I'll be there, but I'll be in the stands watching. Still not sure what went wrong. Another guy walks my daughter down the aisle. However, when I woke up the next morning, I decided to do something I hadn't thought about doing in 10 years. Turn into a monster that is full of anger. I can't say that a rich man can't ruin the life of a poor man if he wants to, especially if he has nothing to lose. I called my lawyer and asked him to start a business within the next 7 days that would run a network of flower shops. My second brother Ben had a business, and I opened a bunch of stores next to all of them. I also told him to keep the prices of the flowers at exactly half of what Ben's business was charging. I told him that I wanted all of the stores to be open by the middle of next week. Then I called the heads of my PR department and my interior design department and asked them to do something. There should have been no media coverage at all, and the shops should have looked amazing. Next, I called my head of the security division and told him to put together a groom's report between now and 24 hours from now. My accountants told me the name of the bank where the child support checks were sent. They were likely also Ben's business bank account. It took me a few calls to find out that Ben had taken out a big loan against his account not long ago. Of course, I did it to help my ex-daughter get married. That means he won't be able to get any more money for his business anytime soon. I called my HR department and asked them to hire Ben's best workers at twice the pay that we're getting now. For the next 4 days, Ben has a lot to do. The new company was called My Friend from Nevada, and it was also listed with Nevada as its main office. No one could connect the company to me without a full investigation, which Ben would be too busy to do. The group to be was a good young man with a huge college loan hanging over his head. Besides being a real estate agent, he had also handled a number of my building projects in the past. My goal was to keep Maria from dying. Ben wasn't ready for the first day that my new shops were open. It seemed like all of a sudden he had fewer clients and fewer workers. Every newspaper put a story on page 3 about the launch of my business, which drew a famous Hollywood star to each event. Things went badly after 3 days of the game. My ex-wife and my ex-daughter, they were ready for me when I woke up. It looked like Maria was also feeling pretty down. "What are you talking about?" I said I would go to the wedding. I didn't do anything that made Maria mad. I told her I didn't know what she was talking about because I really didn't. People who like slime know what I mean. Why did you put a bunch of shops close to trash cans? Why do you charge only half of what it costs you to buy flowers? You could charge more. What kinds of shops do you mean? The shops you opened in the name of a friend who isn't very good at business. Steve, you didn't think I'd remember that jerk. He is an orthodontist, but not a very good one. Why are you finally doing something after not caring for 10 years? Even. I knew the game was over, but I still hadn't broken any rules. I chose to smile. Why should that matter to you? Anything goes when I start my own business. I can charge whatever I want. As it turns out, my business is one of my charity organizations. I offer flowers to the public at lower prices so they can respect and love the people in their lives. Make up a rule that says this is wrong. Sue me was the first thing Maria said. Pops had a heart attack this morning. Based on how things are going now, he will stop doing business within the next month. You have taken from him because you are rich. Everything. I dislike you. How could you do this to hurt him? You know that Mom and I depend on him to help us. I turned around and told her I was no longer mad at her. For the first time in years, I felt sad. It had been years of being hurt and quiet. Indeed said, "How is this different from what he did, now that I have money and his business is gone? Why didn't you hate him when he was a kid?" She snapped back. Pops has never done anything bad in his whole life. No, he has never done anything bad in his whole life. When he cheated on my wife, he was doing the right thing. You say I'm taking his business away from him because I'm rich and he's not. He had time, but I didn't. He took advantage of. Is that to keep me from my wife and daughter? How is that different? But of course, what I'm doing is disgusting. Moreover, he fulfilled the reason why sainthood was made. You say that you and your mother depended on him, and you hate me because I told you that wasn't true. When my dad died, more than 1,200 people at work stared at me. I turned to my wife for help, but he grabbed her. Why don't you hate your dad for it? Maria turned her head away. Why do you bring this up now, 10 years later? Kathy was asking in a nicer way now. I am sick of always being the bad guy for no reason. If that's how I'm going to be presented, I will definitely be a bad guy. I shouldn't have thought you would do what was best for Maria. I should have fought for her until the end. It was rude of you not to let me see my daughter, who brings me the most happiness. I should have gotten angry. Instead, I gave up and thought that it would be better if I didn't wreck her childhood by making things hard for you. Because I hurt that jerk who cut me, He should have been sent out on the streets, and you would have had to stay with me and take care of my Maria. You should have let me in, full control of Maria, when you wouldn't let me bring her with me on that trip to France. Even though it was my turn to spend the summer with her, I stared at her with the anger I felt toward her. Maria told him, "You never have time for me." I was dying to find love. I finally found out that you and my mom were no longer together. That's when I started to ignore you and accept Pop as my father. Mom told me that I could get in trouble with the law if I refused to meet you, so sometimes I did. The woman told me that you would sue her. There was fear, not love, that brought me to you. I told her to wait while I called my lawyer. I asked him to send me the letter I had written to Kathy all those years ago. In 15 minutes, I got a faxed copy of the letter and the ticket with Kathy's name on it. Please read this and let me know if I didn't have time for you. If I want to meet up with you, I called your mom and asked to meet up, but she said no. There must be 100 of these calls, and a few of them involve you. You rudely asked me not to call you about setting up a time. That hurt you and your mom instead. What did I do wrong in all of this? I made one mistake when I had to run a business when my dad died, which I didn't know anything about. Even though I wasn't an expert, I took the risk because 1,200 workers depended on me to keep the business going. Of course, I wasn't with you two for a long time. Still, it had to be done to get the money we needed to stay alive at home. Maria, you don't need to be upset about it. In the past 10 years, I haven't helped your mother in any way, but I have made sure you go to the best. You can go to school and college nearby and enjoy all the comforts you could want. Are you sure I didn't know you were giving your parents a lot of money? You gave them the cash that you stole from me. That is correct. Theft was done. I gave you a credit card that you could use to buy things on campus. You wouldn't let me see you the one time I was in town, even though you used that card to buy plane tickets for your parents to come visit you. In what ways do you think I felt at that time? Because I wanted to make you happy. I didn't say anything even though I was really mad. I just gave you the card. Being close to your parents made you happy. Okay, that's fine. Now I was so angry I could barely stand it. After reading the message, Maria looked at her mother with the same angry look she had been giving me earlier. I might not want to hurt your dads, but I will. I will beat him with the one thing I have that he doesn't have. He did, after all, bring my whole world to its knees with everything he had. If your mom wants to marry someone rich after getting divorced from the jerk, she's more than welcome to do so. I'm not going to love her, but I will spend time and money with her. Yes, I do need help. What kind of person do you think I am? You go, Kathy. The type of woman who cheats on her husband with another man because she is unhappy with some part of her life. Two things are important for a guy to give his wife: money and time. You left me when I brought money instead of my time. Within the next few days, he will be so poor that he will beg for money to buy a pot to pee in. He won't give you any money or time because of this. Can you handle it from now on? Does the person you love sleep with other people? Whose love for a responsible dad who fathered your child was stronger than their love for someone who had slept with a married woman? When Kathy lost in the end, she no longer wanted to fight. Maria spoke up out of the blue. Dad, could I move in with you? I won't go back to living with the people who took my dad away from me. If you won't let me move in, I'll stay at a motel and then look for a place to live. It's clear that my marriage won't work out. I won't walk down the aisle in a wedding that is paid for by two people lying to each other. I don't know if our relationship will last after this, but I hope you will still love me, no matter what. Kathy began to cry out loud. Maria was looking at me with tears in her eyes, not sure what I should do. Maria, you can move in right now if you want to. You might want to bring things from your mom's house. Bring them over right away while I talk to your mom. When Maria left, I looked at Kathy. She seemed like a complete idiot now that she had cooled down. She finally spoke up. Is your dislike of me that strong? Have you given me a reason not to? I only wanted a normal life for myself and my child. Or daughter, as I said. It is not normal for a parent to cry himself to sleep at night because his daughter thinks he is a cold-blooded liar. You forgot to remember this when you were trying to be normal. You forgot to say that most of the time, a husband doesn't go to sleep thinking he let his wife down. It is not common for a husband to walk in on his naked wife being cheated on by her boss. Where was the normal for me in your life, which you said was normal? because you messed me up so badly. I haven't had a serious relationship in 10 years. I guess I was so focused on myself that I couldn't see how bad I was being to you. It's still easy for you to get away with being selfish. Ben, Maria, you and I were the 4 people in the equation. Ben's heart stopped beating. Maria just now lost all the ideas she had for 10 years. You have to deal with a rich, sick husband who doesn't have time for you, and I've turned into a cruel person. From what I can tell, you were able to take 4 lives. You have one chance to put Maria's needs before your own, if you can think of someone else. I gave her a mean look. Anything to make my kid happy. For Maria to be able to go ahead with the wedding, I will pay for everything. I only ask that you stay out of town on the day of her wedding. I will make things right for Maria if you can do it.